and other things. So, Kim, over to you.
Yes, yes. Claudia will be joining us in a few seconds here. I just wanted to thank Cynthia for doing such a good job. I think she covered a good
Mhm.
15% of our presentation. And
Mine
it's
too.
really
So,
great to see that we're all on the same page about how to help, make this an easier time for everyone. Um, Here you go. So tonight, our session is going to be a bit more of a environmental enrichment. And it sounds like an oxymoron because you think environmental enrichment, enriching your environment with lots of lights, and lots of smells, and lots of foods, and lots of everything that is going to sounds really, really stressful. So, but the benefits of doing it right, um, there's some pretty strong benefits, and we're going to talk about that. And so there are ways to change and help rewire the brain's way of monitoring and perceiving the environment that could be really useful at this time. And there's some ways to use the environment to soothe the brain so that they're more flexible, more resilient. So Claudia is going to talk about all of this. Um, I'm going to start sharing my screen so that we can. All right. Do you guys see welcome? We're going to start shortly.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay, let's go full screen. So over the next 30 minutes, we'll look at why holidays can be so overwhelming for some children. I think we can go through this pretty quickly. I think there's like one thing that maybe Claudie says that Cynthia hasn't said, but we don't need to bore you. Although if some of you are joining in right now, Bonnie, are you monitoring attendance? Do you see if there's a lot of new people joining in just now or?
we have had a couple of new people jump in. So, if those of you who are just joining us now at the start of this presentation, would you please type your names in the chat? Sharon will be creating and sending out the certificates. So, at the beginning of each new session, we need you to type your name in the chat. So, thanks, guys.
Cool. So I think Claudie, you might as well go through that section, maybe a bit more quickly. Then we'll focus on how to make things easier. Again, a lot of this stuff is stuff that Cynthia's already said. So maybe we can go into the meat of how to use sensory, motor games that you can do at home to strengthen the brain's ability to remain calm and it boosts its resilience. And I think this is going to be, I hope that you leave this session feeling encouraged and equipped. We're not fixing children, we're understanding them, and we're giving their brain the conditions they need to feel safe, to feel confident, and feel the joy of the traditions and the holidays that we're trying to bring into our homes. So, for those of you who don't know her, our expert presenter today is Claudie. Claudie is also my mother, but she's also the visionary behind sensory enrichment therapy, which is a method of boosting brain development. And we use it to help the brains of children and adults compensate for a wide variety of neurological conditions, including reversing the effects of adverse childhood events. And sensory enrichment therapy induces, the way it works is it induces an elevated state of neuroplasticity. And we can direct a little bit where we want that surge of activity and growth and repair to happen, depending on the brain system that needs attention. But, for you guys, maybe attachment is a big deal. Claudia's worked as a consultant for some of the biggest names in the baby industry, published books on child development, and developed award-winning child developmental toys. But I think the crowning achievement is the fact that sensory enrichment therapy has been evaluated in randomized controlled trials and shown to be, 6 times more effective than standard care with to treat things like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, those types of neurological conditions, but also Parkinson's and dementia and depression. So, sensory enrichment consists in daily evidence-based program of short 5 to 10 minute hands-on games that you do as a family. And these protocols are designed to provide the brain with the types of experiences that have been shown to stimulate the creation of new neural pathways. So we're going to show you some protocols today that you can use at home with your child as a family to help with navigating the stress of the holidays and building that resilience that we're looking for. So, Claudie, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, and I will, like you, thank Cynthia because she said so many perfect things. And what is important for parents who are listening today is to realize that experts agree on important things, right? So, why are holidays overwhelming for some of our kids? And I'm focusing because we have done one or two webinars in the past for children who come into your house for a short time and do have a history. So this is all the advice will be a little bit focused towards them. If you have those children with pain that they don't always show, some of the advice is really for them. So, as we have been discussing and listening to, holiday is a joy. Like we can't wait for it to happen. We have songs in our mind, and of course, we decorate and sometimes over decorate. There are wonderful foods and gifts that we want to give. So, that for us who have had a typical history, it brings wonderful things, wonderful feeling, the joy and the everything is so beautiful because it goes in harmony with the symbol of the holidays. For most of us, each holiday has a meaning, and that's why we decorate to express. But when we talk about this child who has not had a wonderful history, everything that is giving us joy is creating different feelings for that little girl, that little boy, those decorations that are much too bright, and the change, mainly the change of the environment. We are working with environmental enrichment, which means we organize the environment so that it becomes a tool for the child to be happier, calmer, and adults, right? So, how do we make this happen, right? Why do the children suffer when seeing things should be so fun? Well, they have had experiences, and you may not know those experiences, but what happened has happened in their brain and has left marks. Those pictures are pretty horrible, and they're part of a presentation that Michael Ian from UCI has done in the past to explain that any adverse experience as a baby, as a young child, leaves its mark on the brain. And we have observed those changes happening because of negative situations may continue over the lifetime. So that is the picture of the ideal situation. Mom is very calm, everything is going well, the baby is being cuddled every time there is an issue. So we create an ideal situation for the brain to develop. And essentially, because we talk about those sad children, the trust cycle. Something, I am uncomfortable, I'm cold, I manifest, mom is there to answer, dad is here, he's going to take me, and everything will be perfect. When you do not have that, when you're sad and you cry, and there is no answer from the adults who care for you, generally because there are not enough adults, you have those effects on the brain. They leave their marks, they leave a trace, and some of the brain structures are going to be different because of it. And one of them is the amygdala that is going to be over functioning. It is going to grab every piece of environment that we do not understand and cause havoc in how we feel. And all of that starts in the brain. So that's our field of work. So we really have studied what is going on in the brain in a trauma cycle. What are the consequences? And you are going to experience, and you have experienced, repetition of the same kind of behavior, because this is how the kids talk to us, as Cynthia was saying. Um, we know that something's wrong, but we don't always know where it's coming from and how we can help it. So this is
Sorry, I
how it
thought that
happened.
you were going back to explaining some
So,
of the
so
brain structures affected, so I just went back to that slide.
yeah, thank you. Yes, the prefrontal cortex, where we analyze what is going on, has been found to be smaller. The hippocampus, the corpus callosum, like these are tools, crucial parts of the brain. So the child comes in your home with less equipment. So you are going to try to do a better job, but you want to think about, okay, what parts of the brain of that child that cause the behavior can be helped, and why is it going to be repeated if we don't help the child and the child's brain? So first, very clear, we make things less difficult, knowing that this child is not going to feel all these things, and maybe the anticipation, but not an anticipation of the joy. Maybe he remembers, okay, that's the day I left the house, or that's the day everything went wrong. So talk to the child if you can, but get as much information about the child so that you can be ready to modify slightly how you bring things so that the child is going to gradually be more tolerant of change. So have less lights, and maybe have a room where there is even lesser light where you can go and rest. Plan exits. That means maybe a little signal or maybe good observation so that the child knows, if I'm if it's too much, I can go in there. It can be behind the couch, it can be in his bedroom, it can be anywhere that is a safe place. And we will add maybe some component to that. Less of the sound, and certainly invite the child to participate to the change. So if you are bringing the change, you learn about it. And we are thinking about Christmas because we're familiar, but Diwali, for example, is a lot of firecrackers. They are fun, they express the joy of everybody for that event. It's terrifying for the children who probably did not have that celebration. So involving the child as in a little portion of what is going to change is going to help soothe and change the perception.
Yeah, and we should refer to Cynthia's presentation with the 4 N's, right? Having that conversation and prepare them. I love that.
Yes, absolutely. Those two presentations need to be together forever. Keeping routines, meaning there are things, and we're going to give you one routine that is going to be helpful for brain and sleep. But uh, if you have routine that are about, okay, what do we do before the meal? Is everybody holding hands and saying a devotional? Whichever you're doing, keep it so that the child is integrated in the life of your home. Change is lack of balance. Things are going in many directions and they are becoming overloading on a sensory level. What we receive the environment through our senses. There's no way we can not be affected. And you go shopping, even if you have done a lot of work in your home to be a little bit toned, well, you're going to go in the streets and everywhere. So making sure that where the child is spending the most time, there is enough of what was there so that there is a good link and not too much of the novelty to replace real life.
Thanks, Claudie. I think you did a fantastic job covering everything that basically overlaps with Cynthia's presentation beforehand. But I want to give everybody a chance now to ask questions. This is a conversation. This is not a one-man talk show. It is a lot more fun if people want to go a little deeper into any of the things that we've mentioned so far before we go into the next part of the presentation, which is about rewiring the brain for resilience. I'm gonna check quickly if we see some questions there. And there's some raised hands. I'm not seeing any. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Let's move on. So, this is a very big title, and I can assure you that the brain is made to change. There's not a time in life where, okay, it's too late, that's the way I am. What has happened in the past has left things that we can help repair or improve. Our brain is plastic and we can make it happen. We can have the brain gradually grow new ways of learning, of feeling, of receiving the environment. So this is what we're going to talk about right now. When I mentioned, or Cynthia mentioned, how the kids who come recently into our home with different experiences, we talk about behavior, meaning we talk about what we see. We see the sound that comes out of their mouth, we see the movement, maybe we see them slamming doors or pushing chairs away. This is only a very tiny part of what is really going on. Basically, I call it is the end of the story. So we don't really want to focus on the behavior. We want to focus on why is it happening. And our work with Mendability is to go as far as possible where behavior starts, where emotion starts, where feeling and when change will start. So I'm taking you down into the brain, and this is the smallest part where the brain is exchanging information. This is the end of a brain cell. And maybe you did not know that brain cells do not touch. Most cells in the body are attached because it's part of their job, like skin cells, liver cells, bone cells. They are really tied together. Brain cells are not. They come close to each other to send messages, but they never touch. That is a hopeful way of being because this is how change can happen. So information in the brain happens in two modes, electricity and chemistry. Electricity is real electricity. And this is how, in fact, when there is some problem, we do an EEG, which is measuring the electric flow inside the brain. But unfortunately, electricity doesn't jump gaps. For electricity to keep working and going on, we need a contact which is not there. So this is where the information becomes chemical. So our brain is going to help the flow of several very essential components and little molecules, hormones called serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and oxytocin. Those four I'm talking about today because they are going to make the difference. And we can make a difference in how much the brain is producing. What sometimes happens is that the brains of those children, through trauma, through anxiety, and maybe genetics, they do not have enough of those. So the messages do not really happen the way they should. For example, in the case of dopamine, if you have a bad, let's just be simplistic, bad dopamine function, well, all what you see as in the list is what will not be working well for you or for the child. Mood is a very crucial one. Memory and movement. Kim mentioned Parkinson's, dementia, depression. In those conditions, this is what is affected, and it is because of dopamine. People with Parkinson have a very bad dopamine function, and this is why they show the issue they have. Serotonin should be our best friend. It is what helps us sleep, feed properly, lead to learning and translating sensory information. So if your serotonin function is not good enough, then you will have issues in all of these. There is not
Yeah,
one
my
that will
favorite
be,
one on this list is dealing with stress and social
yes,
awareness and sensory integration. I think this is where the barrage of holiday stress,
yeah. And the horrible situation we are in, and it happened during holiday, is that the more stress, the less serotonin you have. So let's say you came to the game with 10 serotonin, you go through massive anxiety and a sensory situation in a social setting, you have now 5 little molecules. That is just an example to tell you there is a real brain impact when the child or yourself are anxious and you lose that serotonin. It may be lost for good, or we may be able to help fixing it as much as we can. Norepinephrine is the one that comes up, and we have found in research that if you combine specific sensory inputs, norepinephrine is going to blossom. It is essential with memory and what we do to survive. And for children where those functions are not good, there will be a response to change where too much noise, too many colors, and they are going to work at surviving this. Uh, This is the behavior we were mentioning before. And the last one should be also the most beautiful, the most standard, oxytocin. We need it to feel attachment. Research has told us quite recently that children, for example, children on the spectrum, are born almost without. Their brain is not able to produce it. So they don't have the tool to feel attached to people. Thankfully, research went all the way to figure out, can this be repaired? And we'll talk about it. But no or poor oxytocin is a real emotional catastrophe. So look at the wonderful quotes. Do you want to read the quotes, Kim,
Yeah,
about?
it's just a simplified way of, we use big words, dopamine and plasticity and all those things. Basically, this is the fuel that the brain needs to feel good. Let's do it again. I can rest and feel in control. I can wake up and this is the moment to grow and I'm safe. So those are good feelings to be having, and we want as much of that fuel as possible. Obviously, brain plasticity involves a whole lot more than just regulating the brain chemistry, but it's a lovely way to start planting the seeds or teaching about this ability of the brain to feel better, to start by feeling better. Once the brain feels safe, there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Yeah. And so, what we are talking about today is about 250 years of research. For those who are curious, I was not there at the start, just telling you right now, but for a good part of it. And if you are curious, you go on something called PubMed and you type environmental enrichment and you will be hopefully amazed by how much we know about the brain, and most importantly, how much we know about what we can change. what we
Okay,
can
well,
do.
I think we skip. We'll go back to the slide we just had. But since you're talking about the research, most of it up until recently is animal research, and this. I know you like that slide.
Hmm. I love that little mouse. I just love her. She's adorable. I don't know why she's a her for me, but she's cute. And she did a lot of good work for us. So, what scientists did, they measured the production of dopamine inside the brain of the animal model. How did they do that? And what did they study? Well, some scientists were curious to know what does it do to our brain to smell something really lovely? Like we're smelling something and something happens. They measured it. So they gave a nice aroma for the mouse to smell and discovered that the dopamine release moved 100%.
Oh, I
What
was
does
gonna
that
do
mean?
some audience participation. I was gonna
Oh,
ask them to
shoo!
vote and give us some numbers.
Maybe they did not listen. Ask your question still. Maybe they did not
Well, there's a second
understand.
part to it, right? Is there's
Yeah.
just there's what happens to dopamine release when you smell something you like, and I think Claudia's given you a clue about the answer. And there's what happens if you combine smell with another sensory experience, like touch, for example. So if you smelled something lovely and you had like a nice back tickle, how much more dopamine? So if you get 100% more dopamine when just smelling, let's have the people in the audience tell us how so 100%, and then how much more percent would you get by pairing another pleasurable sensory input to smell? All right, let's see this.
And you will win a great applaud.
Uh, all right, come on, guys. I know you're in there. Jennifer, Marilyn, Mary, Tammy, give us a number.
How much more? We can
Don't
get
leave us
it.
hanging.
Well, we do know the answer, so it's less.
200%,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Not bad. Do we have a winner?
75% more, Emmy says.
Mm-hmm. Keep
100%
going.
more. All right, oh, 100% more. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Claudie.
Okay, they are optimistic. No, 400%.
So the answer would be 200%. If 100% gives
Yeah.
you too much more, then you get 200% more. So Sharon wins, but I think it's because we
Yay,
did that thing
Sharon!
last time, didn't we?
Well, this is encouraging because that means we don't speak in the wind. People are learning. So that's a fact. And remember what dopamine does: memory, good mood, motivation, immune system. In those seasons, don't we want it? So all of that, you can make it work better. So of course you want it for yourself, you want it for the children. um, it is possible to get the brain produce more dopamine. The story is not written. Whatever's going on today will be different tomorrow if you do the very, very simple things. And we know it's true because it's research based. And here it is what you can do for 8 hours sleep. And I'm thinking about Cynthia and the little 4-year-old who sleeps in her home. Well, you just take a cotton ball and you put just 2 or 3 drops of any nice scent. It can be your perfume, it can be the scent of a French fry. Don't put a French fry in the pillow, but put anything that the child enjoys smelling inside the pillowcase. You don't spray the pillow, you just put one scent. And overnight, the brain is going to start producing more dopamine. And it will happen. Again, we know it's not, let's hope, it is for certain. It will happen. And why is it happening during sleep? Because the sense of smell is the only one that keeps working the same way, sleeping or awake. The others, touch, vision, auditory, are dimmed down so that our brain can rest. But smell remains valid, efficient. because it's a safety measure. If there is smoke or gas, something negative smell that our brain will interpret, oh, that's not a good one. We will wake up and move and go. So you can tonight improve the dopamine function of the entire family with a few drops of a nice scent. You don't need to go very expensive essential oils. You go in your pantry and you take, for example, the vanilla extract. Everybody has vanilla extract. Come on. And so you put that on a cotton ball somewhere in the pillow, and the next morning, that child will have more dopamine. You will see the effect. We work with families for whom sleep is a catastrophe. Well, I can assure you, within 2 or 3 weeks, the child is sleeping the entire night. And you cannot do anything about that. You cannot prevent the child from sleeping and being in a good mood because you have made a change in their brain. So, do we have questions about this?
Oh, we're getting comments. We're getting some people talking about their. Here, Marilyn says, I was in a grocery store, turned around just to go down the aisle because a man had a good cologne on. And then Bonnie also
Ah,
said, going through Costco one day, I could smell the peaches all the way at the front of the store. Needless to say, I went to the produce section and went home with peaches.
yeah, we all have experiences. And remember, dopamine improves our memory. And most of our good memories, some of are bad, but it's been found that most good memories are attached to the sense of smell. So create good memories for the children, for yourself, by putting a scent on the pillow. It's only one of the things that we will recommend you to do, but this is probably the simplest one, and it will change the brain. So
We've
what's
got a
next?
couple minutes if you want to talk about music, reading a
Okay.
book, and the bath time routine is on there too.
Oh,
So,
bath time routine. We have one thing that you change in the bath time moment. Whatever you do in the bath
Hello?
or the shower does not matter
Hello?
much. Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear you.
you have a question?
um, I guess not. Oh, Claudia, I cannot hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, somebody muted me. Don't do that. Okay, bath time routine. One thing that's different from what you are doing right now. A warm towel to wrap the child. No brisk wiping. Quick, 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 so he's not cold. There is a very good neurological reason to do that. Everybody, when you get out of the shower or of the bath, you have a chill because there is a huge change in temperature. That chill, do you know what it does? It destroys serotonin because one of the job of serotonin is to keep our body at the proper temperature. So if there is a change, you use a lot of serotonin to get back. So as soon as that little person gets out of the bath, you wrap slowly. Maybe you give a cuddle. Maybe we lay on the mat by the shower or the bathtub and we give a foot massage. And when you're done with your foot massage, the child is dry. A lot of kids will, if they are just new in your home, will resist foot massage. So you're going to present it as, I need to put a little bit of lotion on that on the top of your foot. That's it. That will be accepted. And then day by day, you'll be able to do more. What is the purpose of a foot massage except keeping the child inside the warm towel? Well, it is going to teach the brain to produce oxytocin. That is scientific research. We know that when you give a foot massage to someone, the brain of that person produces oxytocin. That's a miracle. There is no medication that will do that. So when you wrap the person, you cancel the loss of serotonin and you do something wonderful. Um, I
I've got a
have that.
question, Claudie. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's going down a different rabbit hole, but I have the feeling that this is something that a lot of the people listening are experiencing. So 2 questions from Mr. Lightfoot, Officer Lightfoot. Maybe jumping ahead, what about children that won't stay asleep? So, we know that the bedtime routine and bath time routine together will help kids falling asleep and everything. And so I guess we can talk about that. But he has another question. What about a 5-year-old afraid to sleep in the dark or with his door closed? We have to leave the door wide open and the hall light on.
Okay. First question, sleep. Serotonin takes care of all the phases of sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep, and waking up at the right time, which is not 2 a.m. The routine that I'm talking about is going to increase the release of serotonin. The child will sleep the whole night, will not wake up. And we have 20 some experience of parents telling us he is sleeping 12 hours. That never happened. And what happened when the children sleep? The parents sleep too. So the massage, reading slowly and gently, reading from a book, not a picture book that we look at together. And there is also good reasoning behind it, but the voice of the parent improves the release of serotonin. And one more element is orchestral music. Beautiful orchestral music, not elevator music. This is the real music that will lead the brain to produce dopamine and serotonin. You do not need any more sleep aids once you have done the routines for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, sat on the pillow, massage, and music for a few moments, and maybe 10 minutes until the child is asleep. And there you go. You'll have full night's sleep. If I'm lying, you can come and see me and talk to me about the topic. But I can assure you that you will have full night's sleep with the routine. So
I
I
point
want to
to a
finish.
free there's a free
Yeah,
course that we have on YouTube. YouTube now has playlists that can be that are managed like a course, and then so you watch one video and you watch the next video, and then you graduate from the course. And I created the playlist just 2 days ago, and it's on sleep. It's got all of our stuff on sleep, and we've got a 1 hour long webinar just on sleep, and we talk about things like the bedtime routine. And we go into more detail about the kinds of smell you want to use, the kinds of music we want to use, and why, and that kind of stuff. So what I will do is send Sharon or Bonnie, I can't remember which one of you is sending out the follow-up emails, but I'll send the link to that YouTube so that you can send it to everybody.
Right, that would be great. Sharon will be sending those out. One question I was going to ask you real quick is what is the name of the YouTube channel? So if they want to look it up while they're waiting.
Yes. So youtube.com/mendability, the ability to mend. So MENDABILITY. And then if you can work your way around YouTube, you can find that courses right there.
and in fact,
But while
the spelling is
like
down there.
yeah, I've got three screens going on to manage the presentation and the chats and stuff. So I won't be able to send you the link until Claudie and I are done. Is that okay?
I want to answer the second question about the child who needs light and doesn't want the door closed. Leave them open. It doesn't have a bad consequence. That child will end up preferring darkness because his brain will request it. But for now, we don't want to impose things. It's not a life-changing thing to just do those things so that he sleeps well and feels safe. So it's fine. Just do it. So full night's sleep is what will happen very quickly by doing this routine. Mendability is teaching you things that you can do at home. We do not tell you, like Kim was saying, use this and that. Use the things that you have that are already in the home. And you don't need to go anywhere. today you can start and enjoy. So, the don't, what you don't want to do, just in case it was not said so far, is there are things that your child inside the home right now may not want. So you may not be able to do foot massage. I gave you the idea just a tiny bit with a top of finger. We respect the child. We don't say that's the way it goes. But the end of it, of course, you would not be foster parents if you were doing the thing that way. And you don't want the child to feel, he is going to give me a foot massage. Okay, I'll tolerate. It's not a chore. It's nice. And maybe, not maybe, for sure, give a foot massage to everyone. If you have 3 children, okay, all of them get a foot massage. And we do not go really quick to be done with it, right? If you have very little time, just do a little bit, but do not do it quickly so that you have it done. The brain needs time, and the change in the brain needs time because it's a real functional physiological change that happens. So it happens as the child is growing or the adult is simply living every day.
Hey, Claudie, we got a great question about smell from Mary Pat. Smells. There are bonding squares for babies in NICU. My children and grandchildren want my pillow. So are smells that aren't necessarily pleasant important too?
Well, it's more than probable that in the NICU, the baby is receiving positive message from the smell. There are negative things that happen in the NICU, and I have a granddaughter who had to be resuscitated, had to be in the breathing machine. She is the happiest little person you could see because they were also singing and skin to skin. And those babies grab what's wonderful. Yes, of course,
Yeah, I
some
think the
smells.
bonding squares, I think she's referring to something that mom would be wearing so that the
Yes,
the square is soaked in with mom's smell and then the baby can have that. And
yeah.
and then now the grandchildren, they want the smell of grandma on their pillow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. In fact, studies have shown that infants, few days of life, recognize the scent of mom, the scent of the neck versus the scent of the elbow or the scent of the top of the hand. We do not even know we have different scents all over our body, but the infant is equipped
Yeah,
at
and I think
birth.
there's another study where babies could make the difference between two mothers, which one was their mom. I think it was up to 6 feet away. So
Yes.
their sense of smell is very keen, very sensitive.
Yeah. So please give your grandkids the wonderful thing that is love through the aroma. I want to talk about a part of the brain that is very often dysfunctional in the children we welcome, and it is the corpus callosum. I call it the bridge. It is a band of nerves that helps the 2 sides of the brain communicate. They are barely attached, they're really independent, which is why some children can have one half removed, often because of seizures, and function. But that bridge, if it is not properly working, will prevent the child from learning, from developing a new perception, and it is possible to change it. In fact, we are presently running a study showing how Mendability is improving the corpus callosum in children on the spectrum. So with functional MRI and very, very sophisticated tools, it's possible to know, but you may observe children, and more specifically, I would say children who lack attention, who have to be going from one thing to the next because they cannot process properly the information of the 2 sides. So they just get a glimpse and then they move to the next thing, get only a little bit and move to the next. So this part of the brain is essential to improve. And we have an exercise for you to help improve the bridge between the two sides of the brain. So I want to tell you, this is impossible to do. We have two kinds of exercises with Mendability. We have the ones where it's wonderfully enjoyable, like smelling and the scent on the pillow, the music. And we have those that are so challenging that, in fact, trying is what will make the brain change. You cannot trust what you see on the video. This child is a gymnast, and in fact, he is pretending not being able to do it. I have right now a young man doing this exercise. Not only we put the hands up, which prevents balancing, but we also have him close his eyes. And now this is completely impossible. So how does the brain of this child make the task at least thinkable, if I can say that? Creating a mental image of yourself, doing it is the first step. This exercise, which is impossible, remember, so don't think that going all the way is the purpose. Trying will improve body awareness, self-awareness. When you are in that situation, in that position, even with only one foot on the board and not moving, your brain is processing every part of your body much more efficiently and quickly. And in particular, the corpus callosum becomes more efficient because our brain is kind of obedient. It will do for us what we ask. And if we say, okay, starting today, we are going to almost die by putting our 2 feet on this piece of wood, the corpus callosum will grow new connections and new pathways to make it possible. So it's simple. You do not even need a long 2x4, even one about 50 centimeters, or I don't know what that gives in the other way to measure distance, but just enough to put one foot on maybe the other foot and count how long can you stay. Okay, do the whole family. How long can everybody? And during that few seconds exercise, the brain of the child will be more efficient. The child will feel more empowered with his own sensation of his body. This is mechanical, physiological, functional. These are real changes that happen in the brain by just prompting. So how does the brain change, right? So I showed you the connection between two brain cells, right? They come close to each other and they talk to each other with little molecules. If you do every day something new, something totally unusual in this presentation, each cell is going to grow bigger than new branches. This is a wonderful picture. I want everybody's eyes to be riveted to that image and look at what happens over a few months. These are real brain cells exposed to enrichment. They grow new branches, and now they have grown so many connections that you can imagine that the person owning this brain is more efficient, is more able to learn, is more able to remember, is more able to process the environment. So, real change. The brain is for sure plastic, whatever the experiences that have been lived before. And you can read here the changes that happen when all of this. So, the last one is probably one that will catch your attention, right? The sleep, because sleep is the crucial part you want to improve always. Sleep will improve with pharmaceutical compounds, but they will come with side effects. It's wonderful to have something that will help you, but you want your brain to do it. So the brain of this child or this young adult or this adult will gain all those abilities with short stimulations, nice stimulation done daily.
Before you go into this slide, Claudia, there's a question from Bonnie, and I think it's perfect for this for these slides. Is there an age where it becomes more difficult to heal or retrain the brain?
There is not a time when the brain is less plastic. It is very easy to work with an infant. I've done it because you want to do a massage to an infant and that baby is going nowhere. But it doesn't speed up the process. It's just you're able to do it easily. We found in some studies that we have done with Mendability that teenagers improve faster. And we assume, we do not know, nobody did these studies except we, because we are the only ones to implement this treatment. They want to improve, but I have worked with, my oldest person I ever worked with was 91 years old. He had dementia, he improved. So our brain is alive, will never stop being able to improve. And all what we need to do is do something every day, consistently, and it will happen. It's very important to keep the pace. So even if you have only 2 minutes every day that you can do something with, it's a long time. Like we do not do long experiences because we are talking to the brain. We're not teaching skills to the children or young adults. This is one of the easiest uh, exercise or game that we do and is receiving the benefit of what we discussed, the 400 improvement in dopamine release, which is smelling while touching something. So if I am smelling and if I touch, and I have to show you what I'm touching, I don't know if you can see it. It is a little sock from the little baby I gave massage to. So touching that sock, it's so soft and cute, is improving my dopamine, but mainly because I'm touching and smelling at the same time. So for the kids who will not tolerate that you touch them for all kinds of reasons, well, you invite that kid to touch textures. Um, you make them home, like you take a kitchen sponge, yellow side up, green side up, a piece of tin foil, and you bring the scent, and the child is just touching with the tip of fingers. That's it. It's better than a medication, mostly because it works and will have the effect. So this is one, Kim, I will allow you to explain that slide because I know
Yes,
you
thank
like
you.
graphs.
So you remember when Claudia was talking about how much more dopamine you get when you have smell, and then when you combine it with another pleasurable input, you get even more dopamine. This is the slide. This is our secret sauce. This is a secret sauce of environmental enrichment. This is how we get the brain to change. When you combine sensory input, two pleasurable sensory inputs, and in particular smell and touch, you get a third event. So you get the smell and the dopamine and the touch and the serotonin, but you get a release of norepinephrine. And that spike is indicative of the brain being in super plastic mode, super learning mode, super growth mode, whatever you want to call it. It's basically we can trigger the brain wanting to change its structure by doing smell and touch, and that's what that graph says. It's been measured.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, norepinephrine is that I don't really ever hear about it when it is so essential, but maybe because we are the only ones to promote sensory enrichment and the combination of sensory input. But now we have all the attendees that are going to practice this wonderful thing, which is smell and touch with the entire family. And touch can be smell and little kisses. So, time for questions, if we have any time for questions, in fact.
Bonnie, after asking about age, she said, "My youngest is 30 and still struggles so much with changing old behaviors wrought from trauma." So yes.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, 91 years old, and I saw changes, real changes, like going back. I remember working with a very, very brilliant scientist who had Parkinson's and dementia, was laid on a bed and doing nothing. After a few weeks of Mendability, he was up creating new studies and excited and happy. So there's not a time when it's over. The brain is alive. The brain wants to change and will change.
I'm going to share a story from, I don't know if it was the same guy that you're talking about, but the wife was the caregiver. The wife was the one administering the game. She was the one that was being coached by Claudie on what exercise to do to gradually bring back the brain that was so brilliant before. And then the mom, so the wife came and this is a cool story because it'll anchor because it's a very emotional story. She said that she couldn't cope with the libido of her husband that suddenly was spiking. She was like, "Is there anything you can do to calm the guy down?" And I think this is so lovely. It's such a cool story.
Thank you both so much. This really such amazing information and so beneficial and brings hope, right? So I look at this and I think, okay, so it's not too late to help my kids because some of them struggle at various different levels with traumatic events from their past before they came to us. So it is always so uplifting and refreshing to know that there is hope out there. Does anyone have any questions for Claudie or for Kim?
We were so clear. I'm so good.
Sometimes people think, "Oh yeah, I had a question," and then by the time they type, we're gone because it took them a whole 30 seconds to type it. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Mary Pat. Thank you for your compliments.
Yeah, and if anybody has a question, you can feel free to unmute and just ask your question. And if not, we will move
Yeah, we're
forward.
gonna send the handout will have all of the slides from today's presentation, including contact information if you have some questions.
Great. Thank you guys again so much. I again just want to reiterate how appreciative I am of all of our presenters today who come and do this voluntarily. They're not being paid to be here today. And they are willing to come and spend this time because they believe in our cause and our desire.
Looked like it froze on her again.
And I'm out again. Am I still there?
Yep, you're still here.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we'll end early. Sharon will get all of the information out to you. I will get, hopefully, I have the presentations and they haven't gotten disjointed from all the blipping out, but I cannot tell you all how much I appreciate what you're doing. And I know that it gets hard at times. And I know that often you don't have the appreciation, but you are doing very sacred, important work with these kids. And you are the heart and hope for their future. The things that you are able to accomplish with them now will impact their adult lives. And I want you to know that we're here, that everybody in this group are here for you. You can reach out to any of us at any time. We put these summits together twice a year. We'll be back in April. And we invite you to invite your friends and other people from the groups that you know. If you got anything of value out of this today, then please make sure that you come back for our next one and invite your friends to come back. And with that, if anybody has any closing comments, we'll leave it open for that. And otherwise, we will call it a day and let y'all go early.